Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is choosing from the heart. I think that when we try to choose from our logical minds, we often end up convincing ourselves of things that are not in alignment with our heart and soul. And so we're going to talk about what it looks like to really connect with our heart's longing and how that can direct us with clarity and purpose. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, and bringing vital life energy. And as you exhale any tension, any stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, energizing, electrifying, illuminating, brightening you and all your electrons, your molecules, lighting your cells up. And as you exhale any negativity, any stress, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together. Softly, 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 rub your fingers against your palms and feel how delicious that sensation is, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now. Good morning. It's another new week. Boy, it's time seems to be accelerating. I don't know if you're experiencing that or not, but it's moving so quickly for me. Anyway, welcome. And so today we're going to talk about choosing from the heart. And the reason this topic came up is because I was talking to a new friend. Good morning, Rosalind. Thank you so much for reminding us it's the summer solstice. How wonderful. Yes, we get to celebrate. We get to celebrate these wonderful celestial events, right? Because it's part of the wheel of creation and life. And what a treat to be honoring and recognizing nature and how we are connected. So thank you for that, Rosalind. Welcome to everybody who's here joining us. And we're talking about choosing from the heart. So the thing that brought this to mind for me was that I was talking to a new friend, and we were talking about whether or not she wanted to join my coaching program, because I'm starting right now as the beginning of a new cohort. And she decided no. And we were having a conversation. And at one point she said, well, I have some regrets about saying no. I said, well, wait. It's fine with me if you choose yes or if you choose no. Either way is fine with me, as long as you are totally aligned in that decision. And as it turned out, she had been, as she said, thinking in 3D, thinking about financial concerns and being practical and logical and all of those things. And I'm not in any way disempowering the importance of making logical decisions. And when those decisions aren't in alignment with our hearts, then we often can end up going down a path that is not in our best service. So I want to look at making choices and being able to truly check in with our hearts to see where we're aligned. because I truly believe that, especially as we're moving from 3 to 5D, that our hearts have much more intelligence than our minds. That our hearts can guide us. And certainly this is a leap of faith. However, as we're moving into greater and greater creatorship in our lives, and allowing the space for magic and miracles, our heart has an attunement to the song of our soul and to what is purely going to serve us. And I'm more inclined to say, and I think it takes some courage too, to follow the callings of our heart, even when it overrides the logic that we might have, or the limitations of our beliefs. So I met a wonderful person. I met a lot of wonderful people at the Joe Dispenza event that I went to. It's now more than a week ago, in Cancun. And this one person was so interesting. They were talking about how they had spent all this time setting up a practice, a medical practice as a naturopath, and in California, and built this practice, and then was getting on the meditation trail, so to speak, and was doing more and more meditation and having wonderful experiences of connection, and got a message that they were to leave and move out of the city and leave their practice behind. And it was really remarkable and courageous for them to follow that calling from their heart. And it was wonderful to hear her speaking of her experience and how all these doors were opening, even though she didn't really have clarity about what that was going to be. Like, she didn't plan it. She kind of chose to put herself on the wings of destiny, so to speak. And in fact, our very own Terry Angel had a calling to just go on the road, and she's following her heart and following that calling, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I making decisions from the heart, when our heart is clear and in alignment, when we hear that voice, it's the most compelling voice, it's the most clear voice, I believe that it truly is the voice of our destiny. And I wonder if you've had these moments where it was just like, bam, here's what I need to do. Or when you're facing a decision, to touch in to your heart. Do you do this as a practice? And if not, how about if we start experimenting with that, to bring ourselves to a place when we're faced by a decision, to see what the heart's calling is, to touch in, whether it's maybe to meditate, to find some silence, some quiet, and then ask yourself the question and notice, is that something that is part of your heart's desire? Is it something that is not? And if it is, then what's it going to take to follow that desire? And if it isn't, then to allow yourself, with the choosing of the heart, to silence the other conversation, the second guessing, and the doubt, and the mitigating. When we can really allow ourselves to have the clarity. The interesting thing is that it's not always logical, it's not always rational or reasonable, and yet it is sort of in my experience, the door to, as I said, magic and miracles. So I'm wondering, how is that for you? Like, have you had these experiences where you have allowed your heart its voice, and perhaps other experiences where you have overridden that that calling, and what's happened as a result? um, we talk about I've talked about honesty, and how in knowing, in getting signals perhaps about people or about circumstances, how being well-meaning, we might often override those signals. And oh, I guess I'm releasing some energy here. um, so we might override those signals, and then then end up paying the consequence, because uh, we had a knowing, we had an impulse about something, we had some clarity that we chose to ignore. And this is that same conversation, however, expanded into life direction, and big choices and little choices about uh, which fork in the road to take. So um, we have so many opportunities, and I do believe that things are changing, that the energetic field is changing, that we have more access to it, that um, we do get messages that are worthy of our attention, and that as we find a clearer path to our own knowing, that our lives will end up being more harmonious. I actually have known several people who've gotten the message to essentially get on the road, and be in the not knowing. Good morning, Lisa. So good to have you here with us. Thanks for chiming in. So we're talking about deciding from the heart, and presencing ourselves to this greater wisdom that's within us, and also being in alignment when we make decisions. So rather than being with one foot on either side of the fence, to allow ourselves to make decisions and come into alignment with those decisions. And I find that the easiest way to be in alignment is when we're connected with our hearts. And the more we listen to that voice, the more we'll be able to hear it. It's one of those things that practice improves. And as we trust our intuition, as we trust our guidance makes itself more accessible, I think. It was interesting with the Joe Dispenza retreat. One of the things that he spoke about a lot was being worthy to receive the divine. And it was an interesting concept, being worthy. And what does that mean? And the example that he was talking about was really showing up on a daily basis, meditating, reinforcing your commitment to this transformation, to this opening. And I think it's very easy in life to kind of abdicate our responsibility in some way. I'm going to say responsibility by making kind of half-assed decisions, like just going along with the flow rather than making a conscious and deliberate choice. And there's such power in choice, and then making alignment with that choice, and getting to test periodically to see, is that still where I am aligned? This is really a practice of mindfulness, right? Because we get to be present to how we're being. Are we being engaged or are we being absent? When we don't have alignment with our choices, we tend to separate ourselves from our experience. We tend to kind of be numb or unconscious to our experiences. Good morning, Tammy. So good to have you here with us. Welcome. We're talking about choosing from the heart and using our innate guidance, connecting with our innate guidance and following that. And oftentimes we don't even think to ask. We often will sort of just go with the flow or go with what's easiest on the surface, and it may not be what our heart is speaking. And when we violate that, what happens is that it creates internal conflict. It makes us separate more from ourselves. So Rosalind says, yesterday I intended to drive 3 hours to visit my dad, but didn't. It took me 3 hours to decide not to. It felt like obligation. I trust I will find time with my dad when my heart can be aligned with choosing to go. Good for you, Rosalind. I mean, I think there's tremendous power in recognizing and honoring the feeling that was there. And when we're doing something out of obligation, typically we're not really aligned with it. And there may be an obligation that we have the opportunity to align with, but when we do something, let's not do it begrudgingly. You know, if we're going to choose to do something, let's choose from the heart to say, I'm choosing to take this on. I'm choosing to be aligned with my choice. So I remember family obligations growing up, and I didn't have this awareness about making the distinctions around choosing. And so I would go to these obligations, but then I would go begrudgingly. And that served no one. It didn't serve me. It didn't serve my family. And so being awake and alert to our choices takes courage. And Rosalind, it's interesting, it took you 3 hours to decide not to, but you honored your heart. And that, I think, in honoring our heart and honoring our heart's calling, it is an act that strengthens us, that strengthens our worthiness in a way. You know, I was talking about worthiness to encounter the divine. Um, when we're willing to listen, you know, when we're willing to listen to our hearts and follow their guidance, then we are building our worthiness and our ability to trust ourselves and to respect ourselves. And so it's not an idle exercise by any stretch of the imagination. Rosalind says, I was waiting for him to wake up. So um, maybe that was where you were waiting, so that I could gauge his plans, but had intent when we ended up talking. So that's awesome. Well, congratulations, Rosalind, because tuning in, we've talked about honesty. This is about being honest with ourselves and in the world. And welcome, Darlene. So good to have you here. we're talking about choosing from the heart, and where it takes courage sometimes to connect with our our heart song, our soul song, and to listen and honor it. And as we do honor it more and more, then we find greater and greater alignment, and it opens the door for more and more magic. At least that's my experience. And so, Rosalind, by you choosing to not go visit your dad this time because it felt like obligation, you've opened the door to really honor your relationship with him, and to go when there's the connection, when there's the calling. And I think that by honoring yourself in that context, you're also leaving room for a richer relationship with him, because you're not sacrificing yourself, so to speak. So there's not going to be room for resentment around that relationship. And I think by listening to our hearts and honoring our hearts, it gives us space to be in a more authentic relationship, not only with others, but with ourselves as well. I mean, cultivating it, the more that we deny or betray our callings, our inner voice, the less trust we have for ourselves, and the less relationship we can actually be in, because we're less present. And so, in maybe a backwards way, honoring our heart and honoring our soul song, so to speak, is enables us to be more present in life, and therefore more present with the other people in our lives. So I'm wondering about your experience, if you've had other kinds of experiences where you made a choice to honor your heart. Your mind might have said, oh, you should do this, this is how you should behave, this is what you should do, blah blah blah, on and on, but your heart says otherwise. So, and then amazing things happen, doors open, magic happens. Um, we move closer and closer to being our fullest and most expressed selves. So, share some examples. Share some kind of example where your mind said one thing, your heart said another. You chose to align with your heart and allow the noise of your mind to quiet, to choose the alignment with your heart. And then what happened? Because I do believe that that's the path of freedom. Freedom, because sometimes, our thinking mind is really just repeating a pattern of fear and limitation and doubt, and we do have the ability to transcend that. We do have the ability to recondition our beingness so that we're in greater alignment with ourselves. So many of us have allowed our logical, reasonable, rational mind to what's the word, to really dominate us and subvert our our desires, where we suffer due to all of the limiting beliefs that we have. And I think it's an evolution. I think there's a play between heart and mind. And as we listen more and more to our hearts, we probably have a greater ability to achieve alignment with our minds, heart and mind. And so I invite you to look at how you make your choices, how you make your decisions. Are you choosing from the heart? Are you choosing from your fears? Good afternoon, Pat. How wonderful to have you here. We are talking about choosing from the heart and ultimately aligning our whole selves with our choices. So the mind can be a harsh master and not leave us with the fulfillment oftentimes that is available to us if we can step outside and go beyond. So Lisa says, I made a commitment to myself to take leadership in my own life. So I started sending it resumes. Life, and behold, I found a great paying job. Okay, wait. I made a commitment to myself to take leadership in my own life. So I started sending out resumes. Life, and behold, I found a great paying job close to home. This is my third week and my confidence is soaring. Lisa, congratulations. So you decided to take ownership of your life and leadership, and that sounds like it was a lo and behold, okay, rather than life and behold. Got it. So congratulations for listening and the alignment that you had, and look what you created for yourself. So the intention that was a calling from your heart, and congratulations to you for following it. So anyway, please take a look at the decisions you make, look at how you can lead from the heart for yourself. And I think I'm going to call it a day. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. I so enjoy these times with you and so deeply appreciate your engagement. And Rosalind says we are either projecting or extending, projecting fear or expanding. Projecting fear or expanding into love. And what a beautiful, beautiful way to end the day. And let's all choose to expand into love. And with so much love to you, looking forward to seeing you again soon.